Hello and welcome to the Wicked Edition. I'm Dr. Kingold. We have a great show lined up for you. One of our guests for tonight is former President Kibaki. Relax, not like Kibaki, but arguably the only Kenyan to date to ever pull off the best impression of former President Mwai Kibaki.
Nyinyi mnajua ijera. Yeye akikuja lazima atachapa try. Na try moja ni mabao 5. Kwani nini ugina unataka?
Try moja ni bao 5. He's so good that he even imitated former President Mwai Kibaki's looks. Now, he is a jack of all trades. He's a qualified high school teacher. He is a qualified lecturer and so much more. Harrison Mareka is in the house. Also in studio is arguably one of the finest dance teachers in the country. Actually, she happens to have been the longest serving female judge on the dance show Sakata Mashariki.
It's important for so many reasons. It keeps us fit, it keeps us happy, it helps us to get through hard times if we're feeling down, and it helps us to express our joy when we're feeling happy. At parties we dance, at funerals we dance for everything.
Yes, to her dance is everything, but seems like education is her world. Education as in world yake inalini more towards education more than dance, and it's in a very interesting way. Her children have been schooling from home from way before COVID-19 pandemic started. Dr. Joan Ball-Burgess is in the house. I'll be talking to them in a few, but first, Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni has invented a new form of torture.
I tried to estimate and said, suppose I did something like this for 1 meal.
If you're wondering why a president would call a press conference to issue instruction on the maximum size of ugali a citizen should dismantle, then the answer is very simple. This is Africa. And in Africa, a politician is the best person you can count on to teach you how to eat. This new directive in Uganda marks the end to the phrase, size does not matter. And my heart goes out to any Ugandan who was used to the 250 grams per bite, ugali. Now, this coronavirus thing will really transform life, mazi. Now, who knew siku moja ugali itaanza kupimwa kama dawa? I hope Kenya hatutafika hapo Akiman. Ati kijana, nitakuandikia ugali mara 2 kwa wiki, that is 1 times 2. Mara moja kama ni uga ya kusiaga. I'd be very careful kama ni uga ya kusiaga, especially kama ni ya wimbi. Ukikula hiyo mara 2 itakuwa mara 2 kwa wiki. That's overdose. Na wewe kijana uko na shati moto. Umekula sana. For the next 12 days utaraba uga alafu ulale. The announcement by Museveni is targeted at people who will be receiving relief food from the government, and the 250 grams is so that the maize flour can last. You stretch a meal out. Now there's some truth in that. President Museveni is one man you can trust for tips on how to last. Ukiniuliza, this also serves as the best impression of what the public eats versus what the government keeps. Ukiona ile ugali ya amekata amebaki nayo, but at least Museveni is sharing. Hapa kwetu the only time we've seen our president with food walikula peke yao. Hawakutuambia hata yetu ni gani ama size yetu ni gani, and the only thing they shared were the pictures. In other news, Kenya and Tanzania have over the past few days been involved in an interesting diplomatic situation following President Uhuru Kenyatta's orders to close the Tanzania border.
While good fences make good neighbors, the absence of a defined barrier made it difficult for the police as law enforcers engaged neighboring citizens daring to cross the border. The police had to use stones and poles to barricade and mark the border.
Mkae Tanzania, Wakenya wakae pande hii. Sisi watu wetu wamesikia, wamerudi home, wako pande hii. Sembuse how? Did I just use the word sembuse in a sentence? Yes, that was me. Sembuse. Na by then niliingia kwa mtandao niangalie the pronunciation of the word sembuse. Aki Google wanachoma. Sikia pronunciation. Sikia hizi nini sasa?
Sembuse. Sembuse. Sembuse.
Makofi kwangu. Anyway, I've always heard of news of how porous our Kenyan borders are. Lakini hata kama sikuwa najua ni kubaya hivi. What's the science behind these stones marking the boundary between Kenya and Tanzania? First of all, hizi ni mawe za Kenya ama ni mawe za Tanzania? This has to be the top-notch version of the childhood threats tulikuwa nazo, vuka hiyo mawe kama unajitambua. Now, see, if this situation between Kenya and Tanzania escalates, God forbid, you do realize that the people of Hispania on Kenyan side will be required to have a passport to cross these stones. Avandi hata kuomba chumvi pale kwa nyumba ya jirani mnataka nitoe passport. Mnitanijazia passport mambo ya chumvi na kiperiti stamp. Chumvi kiperiti stamp. Now that said, I have received a lot of inquiries from our previous episode, which was dedicated to construction workers. Have responded to as many as I can. Na kama sijafikia yako, lazima nitaifikia. But in the meantime, there's a very important details that I feel you need to know. Ndio hata kama ni kusaidiana tunajua the specific details za the areas tunaweza jengana. Now, one of the companies I mentioned on the show last week ni iBuild, an application as a service platform with loads and loads of opportunities. Now, check this out because I believe there's something that qualifies as an opportunity for you. Leo tuko na Jalas on set. Jalas alikuwa mzee wa mjei na story yake ni story wezi taka kuhata. But then what has changed from the time alikuwa anafanya mjei na sai?
Siwezi sema nilifanya mjengo ati sasa nilikam na sasa mimi ni mtu wa mjengo kabisa. Ni kitu nilijaribu karibu 1 month nikatoroka. Sasa ngine unatembea kutoka Kayole unafika Tao unaambiwa hiyo kazi iliisha kitambo. So huwa hata hujui kama kutakuwa na kazi, unajua? Kama hata hujuagi. Yes. Lakini wase wa iBuild walimebadilisha hii story.
That's why. Tuliongea about iBuild kwa show last week na tulikuwa naongelea hiyo vako ya hiyo unaona vile kubahatisha. Hiyo unaweza toka Kayole ufike Tau upate hakuna job. Hapo ni platform
ama ufike kwa site kama hii. Unaambiwa leo tunataka watu wa plumbing.
Na wewe ni wakubeba na kubomoa.
Wewe ni wakoroga. Ulikuwa unatafuta hiyo pesa, hiyo 160 ukipata. Kitu ya kwanza ni kukula, ya pili ni kukula, ya tatu ni ukule zaidi. Ufike nyumbani ulale. Lakini sasa na cheki kuna malone.
Yeah. Kuna unaweza upgrade to the next level. Au uko fixed on hand to mouth, unaweza kuwa na project yako separate yenye unaweza fund na hiyo story ya wase wa mjei wanaweza pata loan. How does it work kwa iBuild?
Chep. Ni rahisi. iWallet ya iBuild ni design yenye fundi anaweza lipwa through the app.
Msee anaweza enda nao kwa bank na apewe nayo do.
Sure. As you're speaking tayari kuna lenders wenye wako tayari kufund, fundis either kama ni tool financing, working capital. Msee anaweza kwa nataka kubai mabati amekeje yake home.
Yes.
Jili hakuna maana huyu jamaa kwa anajengea wasee lakini hezi afford kujijengea hao. iBuild inakam kusort story.
Ni guaranteed msee akiingia kwa iBuild platform akiwa msee wa construction sector ako guaranteed kupata job.
That is why iBuild exists. Tuna bring hizo job zote pamoja.
So, si afundi peke yake, hata macontractor na wasio nini wako kwa hii platform. So msee ana bid for job ama ni kama competition ama ni
si kompe buda. Ni hivi, wewe ni homeowner unatafuta msee wa kusimamia mjengo.
Yes.
Post project yako hapo, kuna contractors karibu 2,000. Watakuja kutuma CV zao. Utacheki utaona chenye umefanya, ratings, chagua moja, hiyo ni biashara mnaanza kufanya. Saidi ya fundi nayo inaikuwa even better. Saizi hakuna haja kwenda kuscout sites, unaenda sijui wapi, unaongoja, ukichaguliwa umeinje. Download app yako, register. Mara hiyo enda menu nyingine ya kufind jobs, itisha job kama hapa Kawangware. Utapata SMS ya job zenye ziko ikisema how much wanalipa, kuanzia siku gani, unatuma application, unakuwa accepted, then unaingia job.
This by the way is specifically dedicated to anyone interested in any field ya construction sector. Tumedigitize kutafuta job and I believe that's what iBuild is all about.
Empowering the world to be.
Thanks sana Agri. Kuna kitu nimesahau?
Mara hiyo ingia kwa Play Store, chukua iBuild Kenya na utadownload app yako. Kama wewe ni mulikamuizi fundi *819#. Step 3 na tayari uko ndani unaanza kupata jobs.
And thank you very much. All that have been talking about the companies that have been mentioning zenye tunaweza saidiana nazo kuchange the face of the Kenyan in the construction sector na area yote ya mjengo from welfare mafundi, cost ya kujenga zote. The people have met. All that has been made possible by Habitat for Humanity International. And this is a company that has a long history of promoting affordable and adequate housing across the globe. Kila mahali kwa hii dunia. And Habitat for Humanity has a branch in Itutawilga Center for Innovation in Shelter and is supporting and promoting housing innovation and solutions through market-based approaches. Na among their programs ni kama housing construction labor, na hii ni program yenye na seek to improve access and adoption of quality housing and construction services, and such are the services provided na mafundi. Now, this week there were reports that all Kenyan students will be forced to repeat classes or may be forced to repeat classes this year due to the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on the curriculum. And there are people who are in support, but the reactions of the members of the Kenyan Children Association has been standard. Tunaelewa maze, tunaelewa kila mtu wako shule sahi. And there has been a question of how effective e-learning and homeschooling options are in Kenya. And I personally decided to check out one of the classes.
To confirm that you're in class, you're with us, please SMS the number 21450 to confirm that you're together.
Wow. To confirm that you're in class, SMS. In a real classroom, that will be a trap. You are in class na uko na simu. Now, when it comes to online classes, people have mentioned a few disadvantages. There are people who will argue that hakuna mbwembwe. Now, this right here is the vibe in a Kenyan public school. This is one of two things. It's either this mwalimu has the most passion in this country, ama he has been overpaid. Now, it's very hard to pull that online. However, one thing for sure is that we need to find a way forward as far as education is concerned. Time waits for no man. One of our guests for tonight, Dr. Joan Ball, is taking her kids through an alternative system and it's working. It's basically homeschooling. Na wakiwa home, wanafunzwa mpaka kulima. How competitive is this system? Alafu swali lingine ni watoto warudie ama wasomee nyumbani wafanye KCP na KCSE. Let's extend this conversation to the second part of the show with our guests, Dr. Joan Ball-Burgess and Harrison Mareka. Mi kwanza nataka kujua ni watoto wagani hapa hawa hawajaienda shule na wamesoma. See you guys after this short break. Welcome back to the Weekend Edition. I'm Dr. Kingori. We have a great show lined up for you, kama kawaida vile nimemention. But this week we wanted to answer one question. Can homeschooling be effective for Kenyans? Ama e-learning? Everyone has their complaints, but I found the perfect combination of guests to help me navigate through this conversation. We have Dr. Joan Ball-Burgess. Karibu sana. She was Judge Joan on Sakata. Most of you remember her, ama most of you know her for that. But leo tumemleta specifically for mambo ya education. And we also have my friend Harrison Mareka.
Good evening, everyone.
Karibuni sana. Welcome to the show. We don't have an audience in studio because of the social distancing rules kama kawaida. Dr. Joan, your kids have never, okay, let me ask this so that you can respond. Your kids have never gone to a formal schooling institution in Kenya?
No, they have. They've gone to formal institutions in Kenya, not for a long time.
Okay.
You know, my background is in education and dance.
Yes.
And so, because I wasn't finding what I was looking for at the time, I decided I'd try homeschooling for 1 year, give us time to look for what we wanted, and then, but at the year mark, they were doing so well, we just continued.
Harry, do you believe there's a conversation on whether homeschooling ama e-learning can work in Kenya? Do you think that if you went to school from home, you would have achieved as much academically?
I don't think so. Don't think I would have achieved as much academically, because you find that school is one of the most important social institutions in the country. Education is a social science.
Yes.
When you go to school,
yes,
60% of what you get is academics. 40% is socialization. Now, when you remove the socialization from the academic process, you end up creating what we call academic giants and social dwarfs. Online learning is quite convenient because now you can learn at your own time. You can learn at your own pace.
Yes. You can do biology on one tab, and one tab there is Facebook.
Not exactly like that, eh? No, because you find in school, there is something called peer-to-peer education, where students learn from each other. there's something called diversity. You see, in school, students get to meet people from different cultures, from different societies, and then they learn how to live with different people.
Okay.
You learn how to live with Mzungu, with everyone.
Yes.
So you see, when you are learning online, you do not get that experience.
In terms of the similarities homeschooling curriculum has compared to the regular school curriculum has, do they go for holidays, midterms?
Yeah, I mean, in
Where?
in homeschool, you can decide to set your schedule. So, for instance, you know, if you
Or
have
to pretend that they've broken from school now?
no school, you definitely can break because there is a schedule. From 8:30 in the morning to 3:30, there is school. There is a schedule. We don't wake up in the morning and say, what are we going to do today? There's a schedule, there's schemes, there's lesson plans. So when midterm happens, the kids are actually, just like any other kid, I can relax. And perhaps you're going to travel to Naivasha, Mombasa, wherever. It actually is a break.
Let me bring this issue into context. How many parents can homeschool their children? That's one of the questions that we need to ask ourselves, because for you to homeschool, you must have the pedagogical content. You must have the mastery of content, the content that you're going to teach.
Yes.
If you don't have that mastery, you will not be able to take those children through the curriculum itself. So you actually be misleading the children. You will, actually what you'll be doing is called deschooling.
Yes.
You will be deschooling. What I like about homeschooling is that school is a synchronized system.
Yes.
That treats all children as the same thing. But children have differences. There are some children who learn well at night, others in the morning, others in the afternoon.
Yes.
But when you take them to the school system, they are taken as one who should learn for 40 minutes in a lesson. It takes these children have the same attention span and they have the same needs. So when you take children, now when you use the homeschooling procedure to teach your children, now you will be able to take care of individual differences between the children.
If your kids were to transition into a regular school curriculum, would they blend in?
They wouldn't just blend in, they'd be at the top, socially and academically. I'm clear on that.
You're confident?
I'm confident
they
on
will
that.
be at the top?
Absolutely.
So why do people go to school if learning from home can be that effective?
There are some things that I do agree with what my brother said. Not every parent should homeschool.
Okay.
Not every parent has the patience, the pedagogical sense, the educational levels to be able to homeschool their children.
Yes.
And in that regard, there are options. If someone says, you know, Dr. Ball-Burgess, I'd like to homeschool, but I was never good at math. My kid seems to like it. What can I do? And there you have so many options. You have teachers who will come in who are trained in math, who are mathematicians, who can teach your child. But yeah, as far as only the parents teaching the kids, I'm a parent and I'm a teacher. And I know for the fact that as parents, we are the best and the worst teachers for our kids at the same time sometimes. Because we know their potential, so we can push them there. But we know their potential, so we push them too much sometimes. So there's a fine balance there, and that's where other support is there for us today. It's not just one model of homeschooling.
It's very sad that your kids will never get to know the experience of being noisemakers and other experiences that you actually get from a regular schooling curriculum.
They have those experiences.
How?
They know
how do you fall under the noisemakers category at home?
Like I mentioned, we have several students in our school. Our school is not just my kids. We have a bunch of kids. We have 10 kids.
So it's a get-together school.
That's why we're called the cottage school. Yes. Because we teach our own kids. We have other kids that come in for homeschooling. We have a kid that might, just like I mentioned, that might come in for one class or another class. We have kids that come in for tuition.
So basically you also have kids who come to school when they feel like
it. Not when they feel like it, when they're scheduled to come.
Okay, scheduled to come. Oh, Kwa hivyo hata kusky vidaro is because school, because you did not schedule yourself to attend class. That's a very nice excuse.
No, that's not how it works. So if you know that your kid is signed up for history class, and history class happens 3 times a week, let's say from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., so that kid will show up for that particular time. That kid would not be considered a full-time student, but perhaps their parents are schooling them elsewhere, or they have e-learning happening. So there's, like I said, there's many different models of what homeschool is. It's not just one thing. Some kids will even show up to a regular school and do the lab work in science because they don't have, obviously, a lab at home.
It's important to note that bullying also happens online, but if you're doing e-learning, just make sure you don't join Twitter. For what you said, that there are tools that actually are available online that are not actually already available in the regular school curriculum. That's a good point. And I believe if it is as effective as you say it is, then our only challenge is infrastructure, because if every child could access all that, it means that we wouldn't have a problem. Everything would have continued as normal. People would have continued with the e-learning process as usual. The challenge is, in this country, most people actually interact with computers as a course after Form 4. We call them packages. That's how they are popularly known. Sindio?
Yes.
So actually, that means that this could work.
Yes.
But it's a pipe dream as long as we don't have the proper infrastructure in place.
It's true. And the truth of the matter is, none of us as teachers went to school and took a course called How to Teach in case there was a pandemic. There was never that. So all of us as teachers all over the world are learning as we go. And there are mistakes and there are ways to modify. You know, I read something on the internet of people being concerned that the kids are looking at the screen too much. So if you're looking at the screen too much, there's a way where you need to modify the schedule online and take more breaks and maybe have a shorter day, but at least let the schedule continue for the kids.
Okay. I think it would work. Radio lessons with Gengeton breaks between chemistry and maths. I think that would actually open up a channel for
and also for parents. You see, the parent may not have all the content needed to homeschool the children, but that does not mean you should not teach your child, because one of the best ways to teach your child is to have your child teach you. Do you understand me? You just go there with your child, tell them to read something, or maybe supervise them as they learn, and then tell them to teach you what they have read. That's another way of homeschooling. If you don't have the content, just make sure they read something. Tell them to come and tell you.
That's a strategy.
That's a strategy.
And I also want to put it out there that the cottage school is available to support students. People are worried about cost, people are worried about finances, but reach out to us at cottageschoolkenya.com. You can find us on Facebook, on Instagram. We have offered scholarships in the past. We're definitely open to that. We are using the GL assessment online if people are worried about exams and they need something to show for this time and other schools are closed. We're happy to support. And it's true. When the kids are the teachers, they learn by teaching. So it's absolutely, there's so many beautiful ways. I even advocate for going back to the old ways of learning. Draw something in the sand with your finger. The tactile learning is there. Counting with sticks and leaves. These are the ways that we've forgotten about, that our ancestors, not too far along, actually learned and became completely knowledgeable. So those are resources that are right there at our disposal.
Sasa, guys, thank you for the information you've shared. I believe that is priceless information, and I hope it goes a long way to help everyone who's watching the show tonight. Dr. Joan Ball-Burgess is a trained dancer. Aki, your resume is so long, I couldn't go through the whole of it. For those who know her as just as Judge Joan, your resume is online.
No.
Just mention 3 things that you've done. Just 3.
Oh, what have I not done? My research was the first in Bermuda to measure creativity amongst middle school students and to look at the combination of how the arts, namely dance and education, support each other in the brain. I've lived in Jerusalem. I speak fluent Hebrew. Most people don't know I have 3 kids.
You've lived in Jerusalem. Uko ni kwa kina Jesus, for those who don't go to church anymore. Harry, things that you've done?
I've been a high school teacher.
Yes.
I've been a lecturer. I've worked in the media. I've been a comedian, and right now I'm a researcher.
Sawa sawa. Aki, I hope to have you back again on the show. Asanteni sana.
Welcome.
Once again. I can't thank you enough. But that's it for the weekend edition this week. See you next week. My name is Dr. Kingori.